athletes, as I said, Sawe, the reigning world champion, took gold in Riga on the 1st of October last year in 59:10 in Latvia. He's run 7 half marathons. He's won 5 of them as Sawe. Stephen Scullin, by the way, is a non-starter. That obviously hasn't got through. It's a non-starter here, the Irishman. It's a great shame. Would have loved to see him here. And the best of the Kenyans and Ethiopians are here. Look out for Vivian Jepkamai-Meli, the 22-year-old, her 7th half marathon here. She has best of 67:35. Anything down there around 66, 67 minutes for the women over a half marathon is fabulously quick, although the world record 58:47. That is his target today. That was by Atsedu Segai of Ethiopia. That was 2012. That was 12 years ago he did that. Oh, look at those flags. There is hardly a breath of wind. It's a glorious morning. There's one of the top Europeans running. It is the Portuguese Helio Oliveira Fernandes Gomes, a 3:37 1500-meter runner, and a man who was 4th in European Championships 1500 meters back in 2012. Gun is up, as they say, and the gun has fired, and away they go then for this 24th edition of the Prague Half Marathon. It's a glorious morning in Central Europe, and Prague is no exception. For the slower runners at the back of the big pack, and I mean the 15,000 pack, it could get pretty warm later on if you're going to run 2 hours or slower than that. It could get a little bit warm by midday. But for these elite athletes, well, conditions could not be better, and it promises something very special this morning. We're looking for Jeska Chalangat in the women's race to produce something special here, and only her 2nd half marathon, 26-year-old Kenyan. She ran a marvellous debut in Copenhagen back in September, 67:03. She's one of quite a few women in that women's elite race who have broken 70 minutes. We'll get into them in more detail as the race unfolds. But already, look, they are powering along, and I can tell you that the pace target for these athletes, well, for the first men's group, it is 2:47 per kilometre. That's 13:55 for 5k, 27:50 for 10k, and continuing on at that pace, they would be brought home in 5th. Capital of the Czech Republic, of course. It's a city of 1.3 million, and sure these elite athletes will be eating anything as they plough around the course incredibly quickly. There are 40,000 bananas out on the course for the 15,000 participants. Drinks every 2.5 kilometres. No personal drinks for these athletes being handed in, by the way. The elite athletes who in marathons will hand in their own special concoctions to be taken during the race. So while these athletes plough along and are way past the 1st kilometre now at the front end of the men's race, for the masses, they'll be crossing that start line for a few minutes yet. It is a new start area just to the north of the river, to the north of the city as well. And it looks so far, touch wood, to have gone brilliantly well. Now this is one of the few, to the left of the picture you can see the elite athletes, one of the few downslopes where they negotiate some of the bridges or junctions across the river. And but they are very slight undulations, down and up gradually. See here the pacemakers, pace 1, M1 and M3 to the right there. M1, that is Hosea Kiplangat of Uganda, 23-year-old. He's pretty useful himself. He's from 27:14 on the roads. That was in Herzogenaurach in April last year. He was 6th. The race put on by his sponsors Adidas, that have been a partner for this run check in their races for over 20 years now. But Kiplangat is a fabulous quality pacemaker. Everybody hoping he'll have a really good run here today and take the best racers who are going to finish the race far into the 2nd half. He's so good, actually, Kiplangat. He was 13th in the World Cross Country last week in Belgrade, but he is wearing M1 there to the right, and to the left, pace M3. That is Frederick Yeko Dumongole, a 61:54 half marathon runner, although that was in Nairobi last year at altitude, and of course the thinner air at altitude makes a huge difference to the amount of oxygen you breathe in with each breath. I can see in the orange vest to the left of this group, at the back behind this little group of about 6 or 7, Jackson Kavesa Mwema of Kenya, just 22 years old. Now, he's got massive potential. Bizarrely, his personal best is only 65 minutes last October in Tokyo, but he's run 27:38 for 10,000. So he has enormous potential. I believe he can go down towards 60 minutes here today, if not quicker. But look at those gaps behind. 5 minutes on the clock, and already this elite field, this elite pack, have pulled away from the chasing packs. The second group, by the way, with Peter Qualia Kipsarat as pacemaker, are planning to go out 59:30 pace. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? Still way below 60 minutes, but 59:30 pace. So, 6 minutes on the clock. They've crossed 2 kilometers. They're now crossing the Chekhov Bridge. Going first time they crossed the bridge. They crossed the river, the Vltava River, 4 times, by the way. When they get over this bridge, they'll take a right and carry on heading south past the old start actually of this race, where it started last year, near the old concert hall of the city. There's a glorious sight of the Prague Castle complex in the background, on that north bank. But here they come down off this bridge, and they'll take a right here now, past the old concert hall. And this is where, this stretch of road where they are now, is where the race started in previous years. But they are absolutely motoring here. And to the right of the picture, you can see the elite women with the high hair bun. That is Jessica Chalanga, tucked in behind the pacemakers. The main pacemaker there is Sila Kiptu. He's a 62.03 pacemaker. And the Dawit Belachu is there as well in the blue. Belachu will do this job as far as he can for the elite women. Probably most of the way. Their target time, by the way, at 3:08 per kilometre is 66:10. And the course record in the women's race, I say course record, I keep saying I mean event record, because this is a new course. It was a world record, and it was set 6-7 years ago by Joycelyn Jetkoska of Kenya. She ran 64:52, and actually she set 3 world records in that one race at lesser distances. She set a world record at 10k of 30:04, she set a world record at 15k of 45:37, and then at 20k a world record of 61:25. So the women's event record is incredibly fast, 64:52. I don't think we're going to see that today, but we could see a very quick time. The fastest time in the world this year by a woman, by the way, is 64:29. Now that is formidable. Some 20 women this year already have broken 67 minutes for the half marathon, with quick races in Barcelona and Houston and Ras Al Khaimah and Lisbon and Malaga. But the crowd's out already in reasonable numbers. It is what, not quite 10 past 10 rather, here in Prague. And you can see the distance marker top left of your screen, showing how far they have covered. And it keeps reverting back to 2.5 kilometres. They've run a lot further than that. 3 kilometres now they've run, and it's saying 8:54. I think that is slow. I think that's wrong. They'd have gone through 3k much quicker than that. Remember, these men are moving at 2:47 per kilometre, so they'll have gone through 3k well in around 8:20, something like that. And they are moving. They really are shifting well here. They're taking advantage of these good conditions. What you could call banking a cushion of time by knocking out really quick splits here. I'll try and bring you splits as soon as I can. It might well be that we won't get splits until each 5 kilometre point, but this is a typical shot for the roads of Prague, for the races in Prague. Fast and flat and a good surface. They can avoid the tram lines, which in some major cities are a bit of an issue. I know that in one or two of the Dutch races, where the tram lines have a very wide, deep hole along the metal line of the actual line itself, they drop ropes down into the ruts to stop athletes twisting their ankles in it. But that's not necessary here in Prague. 10 minutes on the clock now. And here is that pack of the elite women. I think I saw Nigsti have to test Fida. She's a 66:17 athlete. Actually, on paper, she's the quickest here. She ran that in Valencia back in 2021. Now back over the bridge. The men have dropped down. They're now crossing the Legion Bridge, the Most Legi, as they call it. And these fellas are doing a great job, the pacemakers. I have to say that Jose Kaplanga and Domongole doing a brilliant job at dragging that little pack behind them along at a lightning quick tempo. We could well see a course record here from Sebastian Kimaru Sawe. There we are. They've crossed the bridge for the second time, the river Vltava, and taken a left now. Having just gone through 4K. The 4K mark was just as they came off the bridge, so the distance marker at the top of the screen, I think the pink is for the ladies and the blue is for the men, but I can tell you that the men have already gone through 4K. So that clock for the men is actually, the distance marker for the men is actually incorrect. That 3.8K in blue, they've gone way past 4K already. You will not get much better conditions than this, you really won't. I mean, I suppose purists would say, listen, if it's 14, 15, 16 degrees, that's a little bit too warm, it's not ideal. Something around 12, 13 might be perfect, but that's being really picky, I think. So, Gideon Kiprotich there to the left of this group, moving nicely to Gideon Kiprotich-Rop of Kenya. He's a 60.28 performer. That was when he was 5th in Napoli back in February this year, just a couple of months ago. In fact, a few weeks ago, 25th of February, he ran 60.28 for 5th in Naples, or Napoli as the Italians call it. He's only ever done half marathons, as Gideon Kiprotich-Rop. His debut was a 9th place in Delhi back in October last year, and then he ran that PB, that personal best, in February, just a few weeks ago. What about 6 weeks ago? He lives in E10, inspired by his father to run was Gideon Kiprotich-Rop, and I hope his dad's able to watch now and will be proud of the way this is unfolding. Back to this women's pack, and you can see Gete Alamehu Tekla-Michael there in the pink vest. Now she is very much one of the favourites. She's a 66.37 performer as the 25-year-old Ethiopian. She ran that when she was 2nd in Barcelona a couple of years back. It's her 12th half marathon. Hasn't won a big one yet, but she's super consistent. There she is to the right of the picture in the pink vest. That's Tekla-Michael of Ethiopia. Was 12th in the world cross country last year in Bathurst, Australia, in very hot, difficult conditions. And there in the centre of picture, in that sort of pinkish, slightly darker pink top, is Sultan Haydar of Turkey, the 36-year-old. She is a former Ethiopian. She was called Chaltu Garma, but her best is 69.12, and I would be surprised if she's able to live with the really best women. Now, is that a second pack in the women's race to right a picture? We go back to this men's field, and already you can see that Jackson Mwema is beginning to struggle there. Mwema in the orange vest is really struggling to hang on to this pace, the 22-year-old. Now, he is a fabulous runner. 27.38 for 10,000 he ran in Yokohama. He's one of those Kenyan athletes based in Japan. His wife, Precious Muturi, and his kid, Gianna, will be watching him now, but he's beginning to struggle there. Left a picture, a little glance over his shoulder, that's telling. And the gap between him and this leading quartet is growing. Now, Sebastian Sawe is leading. And have they lost the pacemakers already? Wow, 15 minutes on the clock. And we're down to Sebastian Sawe, Gideon Kiprotich, Jeffrey Toroitich Kipchumba, Good to see him there, the 24-year-old. He's a 59.13 performer. Did that when he won in Malaga last year. It was retention of his Malaga title. He's a good, strong athlete. He won the Hong Kong half marathon last year in 61 minutes. It's always hot and humid there. And this women's pack has thinned out as well, hasn't it? We're down to Gete, Tekla Michael, Alamehu, Tekla Michael, and Jessica Chalanga is there as well. Chalanga there with that hair bob, just hidden by the pacemaker in the blue vest. That's Dawit Belachu in the blue vest. And it might well be down to a battle just between these two. And they are very, very evenly matched. In fact, Chalangat has the slightly better recent form. And there is confirmation, if you needed it, that Jackson Kavesa-Mwema is struggling with his pace. 16 minutes on the clock. And he is now losing ground very quickly. And it's going to be tough for him this next 40 minutes or so. He's isolated back there, isn't he? In 5th place. Sawe is making the tempo at the moment. I suspect he's disappointed with this. He'd love to have had pacemakers for further than 5.5k into the race. Goodness me, I'm quite surprised, I have to say. They're heading due south now, down towards an industrial area to the west of the Vltava River. It's one of the quieter parts of the course, and there is Mwema. He's a good track athlete. He's run 13.16 for 5,000. As I said, 27.38 for 10,000, and that does underline, I suppose you could say, just how quickly they're moving up at the front end, that pack of 4. He was 24th in the Kenyan cross-country trials back on the 2nd of March. He used to train with Alexander Mutiso, who was a 57-minute half-marathon runner, one of the quickest ever. He needs inspiration now. He was inspired by his cool teacher to run with Jackson Mwema, but at the moment he needs inspiration to get back on terms with this pack. Gideon Kiprotich, Jeffrey Troitich Kipchumba, Sebastian Sawe. And just looking there at the 4th athlete, that is as expected, Patrick Kabirech Mozin, who is also a great athlete, 59.31. He ran to win the Lille half marathon back in March last year. So we're down to 4 Kenyans. I was expecting Maxwell Kortek-Rotich to be up there as well for a bit longer, the Ugandan, but he's not in sight. And it is Sawe who is calling the shots and leading at the moment. Some athletes, of course, to the right of picture, as you can see, taking it not quite as seriously as others, although the emblem of this race this year is a charging bunny rabbit, charging straight at the viewer. It's quite a resting shot. It's great because it's fun and it's action-packed and it screams speed, but it is a rabbit or a hare maybe running straight at you with big, wide, shocked eyes. It's a lovely shot. I don't know if we'll get to see it anywhere, but maybe that's what that gentleman is thinking of to the right of picture, although I'm not sure he's moving quite the speed of the rabbit that I'm talking about. Hey, whatever floats your boat. The masses loving this, enjoying themselves, some walking already and just taking their time to negotiate one of the world's great cities. Its beauty is unquestionable. It wasn't really damaged by the Second World War. It is like a living museum. It was really glorious, the city of Prague. But back to this elite race left of picture. And we'll bring you a split as soon as we can. We didn't get the 5k split. Apologies for that. Goodness me, if we see any distance markers, that would be really useful. And I've got my clock running. We can extrapolate from that just how quickly they are going. Single file, though, in this women's race. And it looks to me like maybe Jessica Chalangat is beginning to get the psychological superiority over Tekla Michael in the pink. Tekla Michael moving up alongside two of the three male companions they've got. You don't want those males to get in the way of these women. You want them to assist them, but not really be in exactly the same racing line. And it'd be nice to see that gentleman in the middle just move to one side and let Tekla Michael come through, and if she wants to, get in this slipstream of Chalangat. Drinks being taken by the elite men. As you can see, they obviously are feeling the heat. 20 minutes on the clock now. And Sebastian Sawe still out in front. He's acting in effect as a pacemaker for those others, and it's just a war of attrition. He's going to just keep pushing on, turning the screw, keeping the pressure up until they begin to peel away. And it may be that Jeffrey Toroitich Kipchumba, back in fourth place, is already feeling the strain. The head is back a little bit, the arms flailing. He looks to me, Kipchumba, like he's working really hard to stay with this. He lives in E10. Said he was inspired by Moses Kiptanui all those years ago, a great world champion in the steeplechase. 3 times world champion in the steeplechase, Kiptanui, in the 90s. But Kipchumba in fourth place might be struggling to live with for much longer. Last year he won 5 10Ks. They were all pretty quick. 27.52, 27.51, 27.37. He's normally would have the speed. The only problem for him is that Sawed here today said he wants to go through 10K in 27.50, and that's not far outside the personal best of Kipchumba, who is indeed beginning to peel off the back of this pack. Jeffrey Kipchumba might be in trouble. 22 minutes on the clock, and Sawe looks so determined in front, doesn't he? Pushing it on really hard. Race, Sebastian Sawe, 24 minutes on the clock. We knew that one of those athletes was beginning to struggle. Kipchumba, Jeffrey Toroitich Kipchumba, he's back in fourth, but now Sawe, after 24.5 minutes of really hard work, has got the gap he wanted. Really quick cadence, isn't there? Look at the turnover of his legs. He doesn't have a long stride, but it's really quick cadence from Sawe, and that's how he's beating them into submission. Now, has Yeska Chalangat got the gap she wanted? I think she has. She's got her pacemaker there with her, Sila Kiptu. She's tucked in right behind him. Well, this year she's had just one race. Who was fifth in Castellón in Spain back on the 25th of February in a 10K in 30.23. She has very modest track best. She really has been focusing upon the roads for most of her career. But she trains with Hella Kiprop and Matthew Kameli, both world-class athletes. She's married to Hilary Mossop, who is a great support to her. And she had a couple of years out of the sport. She is only 26, remember, with Ian Kiprop Kip2, her 4-year-old boy, who will, I suspect, be watching this with Dad Hilary. So her best 67.03. I wonder if that is under threat today. That was in Copenhagen back on the 17th of September. She was third in the Danish capital. And there's the chaser, Gete Alamea to Tekla Michael. And she has lost quite a lot of ground over the last 5 minutes on Chalangat. Now, if she keeps male company for these next few kilometers, this middle section of the race, then she may still run on very strongly and produce a great time, but it's going to be difficult if she ends up being on her own, because Chalangat, of course, has got a pacemaker. Tekla Michael here, well, it looks like she's got a pacemaker in effect, but I think that is just a random Czech elite runner who happens to be moving at the same pace as her. I thought Darit Belachu, another Ethiopian, might be with her, but he seems to be absent. Sebastian Sawe, well, he's away, and we're looking for that 10K time from Sawe. He was looking, remember, for 27.50, excuse me, at 10K. The women at 8.6K, there or thereabouts. And Sawe here, well, he's approaching 10K. It is going to be quick, there's no doubt about it. He has flown through these first 10 kilometers. He's made the U-turn at the southern end of the course now. He's at nearly 10 kilometers, so he'll take a right onto the bridge here now. And the 10K point is actually, according to the map I've been given, just before the bridge. So he may well have gone through 10K in about 27:20. I can't believe that. That would be absolutely extraordinary. But Sawe is powering on here. And I think the course record, maybe something even more significant, is under severe threat here. 58.47 is his target. The world best for this year, funnily enough, 58.45. It would be nice to get not only the event record, but also the fastest time in the world this year. That 58.45 was by Daniel Mateko of Kenya in the Ras Al Khaimah half marathon, the RAC half, back on the 24th of February. I was there for that one. It was a strange, misty day, even with a little bit of drizzle, can you believe? Just across the desert from Dubai. We had a little bit of rain in the United Arab Emirates back in February. So he's taken that right-hand turn at 10K, and he takes another right-hand turn now and drops down southwards again. But he's got glorious isolation here for company, has Sebastian Sawe. The gap back to second place is about 40 or 50 meters. This is the tough section for him now, I think. This middle section, this third quarter of the race, in effect. There we go, 27.32 at 10K. Rop, 27.41. And Mohsin, 27.41 as well. And then Kipchumba, 27.48. Wow. It is quick. There's no doubt about it. 27.32. That is super fast. And that will have him on schedule, well, for something down around 58 minutes flat. I mean, it is absolutely brilliant running from Sebastian Sawe. His personal best, remember, 58.29. He's on schedule to better that by a pretty big chunk here this morning in Prague. Sawe enjoying the loneliness of the long-distance runner. He shouldn't be hurting yet, though. Let's not forget, 29.5 minutes on the clock, and he's really only a click past halfway. He's got a long way to go, so he's got to be operating in a fairly comfortable state at the moment, Sawe. And then, of course, he will dig in deep in the final quarter. But for this third quarter, this is critical. He's got to really persevere here and concentrate, dig deep, try and stay relaxed, and then get into those last 5K and psychologically focus upon using up his resources in the best possible way and saving enough for that last couple of kilometers. Well, Jeske Chalangat has managed to get that gap to grow back to her pursuers, and her pacemaker here, I have to say, Sila Kiptu, doing a fabulous job. She is approaching 10K as well now. And she's just climbing up. She's at about 9.5K. And then before she turns right onto the Yuraskov Bridge, that'll be the third crossing of the river. Then just before she gets onto the bridge, here she's at about 10K, and she's 31.03, so I don't think they've gone to the bridge yet, are they? But it will be very shortly. They'll take a right-hand turn. We're looking at Jeske Chalangat to the right of picture, being led around by her pacemaker, Sila Kiptu. But she looks to me like she's gone through 10K in around 31.20, there or thereabouts in that women's race. Well, I have to say, I know there's a foreshortening effect from the camera shot, but you know what? These pursuers are doing a fabulous job. I mean, Sawe has got the gap, is looking quite majestic. He's got a really quick leg turnover. He's not one of those athletes who lopes, who has a long raking stride. He just has a quick cadence. His legs move really, really fast, one stride after another. Not a long stride, but a really effective rhythmic stride. 27.32 at 10K. And the crowds out on the street probably unaware of just how quickly he is going, but I suppose an indication of how well he's running is the gap behind him here. I was chatting to him yesterday and he said he runs 5 kilometers each way to and from school from the age of 6. So imagine that, at the age of 6, he ran 3 miles to school, 5k, and at the end of the day, ran 3 miles back, another 5k back, so 10k a day. There's the powder tower. Now that means he's at 14k, he's just gone through 14k. The 10k that the Run Check company put on every September starts just there, near the powder tower. And that is one of the great tourism attractions of the city. It used to be where they stored the city's gunpowder, surprisingly enough, with a name like that. What a great way to have breakfast, eh? Just sit and watch world-class racers whistle by on the streets of one of the world's most beautiful cities. But Sawe here, schedule, remember, his 10k split was spectacular, 27:32. He's running better here than he did last week when he was 7th in the World Cross Country Championships in Belgrade. I think he was the 4th Kenyan scorer in Belgrade. There's the pursuers in the men's race. Left a picture. They're having a good run. I mean, goodness me. Jeffrey Troitich Kipchumba went through 10k in 27:48 and he was back in 4th place. We're looking now at Gideon Kiptich-Rop and Patrick Mozin. They went through 10k together in 27:41 and they're still moving well, but just not with the same cadence. And actually, what a contrast there is between Gideon Kiptich-Rop there, leading of these two, and his long loping stride and the pitter-patter quick turnover of Sebastian Kimru-Sawe. I wish we could see the comparison side by side, but as they negotiate the city centre, little sections of shade here which are very welcome because the temperature is climbing in Prague. So these two are working together, got their own little race here, battling for 2nd and 3rd, and all they can do is hope that Sawe hits a wall, hits a mental or physical block and comes back to them. The gap is 45 seconds with 42 minutes on the clock. And that is a big gap. That's getting on for about 250 metres, over 250 metres. And Sawe is way ahead of these two, and they are running at world-class tempo. You can see Kipchumba there, who has gone, who was back in 4th place. He's rallied a little bit, I think. He's going really well. And credit to him for keeping up this effort to try and keep these two in sight. But Sawe is away. It'd be good to see Sawe and how he's getting on. He'll have gone through 15k now. I'd love to see the 15-kilometre split. What a shame. Try and bring you that perhaps after the race, or maybe over the next few minutes. But this is the race. Gideon Kiptich-Rop for 2nd and 3rd. He's a devout churchgoer, is Rop. Made his debut last October in a half marathon. He was 9th in Delhi in 63:51. Well, he's going much quicker than that here. Ran his personal best in February this year. That was in Naples, where he ran 60:28. And if he can hold on to this tempo now, he's going to go a long way under 60 minutes today. It's going to be a massive personal best for Gideon Kiptich-Rop. There was a little telltale glance over his shoulder there from Mosin, wasn't there? I wonder if he's feeling the strain in 3rd place. Back to this women's contest, though. 44 minutes, almost 44 and a half minutes on the clock. And, well, it's not much of a contest, is it? Jessica Chalanga is away on her own, coached by David Marus. What a good job he has done with her, this young lass from Narok in Kenya. At 26, she still has her best years ahead of her, surely. She has wonderful training partners. She has that rock back home of a good family, married to Hilary Mossop, and a little boy of 4 in Kiprop Kiptu. She will be running with them. Now she passes under the powder tower, and that is just past 14k. She passes through in what, about 44:50. So if we extrapolate from that, add on what, another 3 minutes, 44:50. Another 3 minutes, that's 48:50. She'll be around 49 minutes at 15k. No, I've got my maths wrong. What am I saying? She'll be about 46 minutes at 15k.
15k. Yeah, well, I'll start all over again in a minute. Let me rejig my maths.
Sawe, left up picture. First time we've seen him for a long time. Empty road behind him. That's a glorious sight for him. Now there is a couple of athletes in view, Rop and Mosine, but they are 45 seconds or more back. This is one of the few upslopes of the race, just climbing up out of that tunnel. And he is now with 45, nearly 46 minutes on the clock. He's at about 17k. He's just past the hotel, I think, that the athletes are staying in, the Hilton Hotel. 15k, 41, 25, 41, 25, 43, 56 for Mosine. I'm not really worried about those back markers. Domongole, 44.04. Kipsarat Al-Jadar. The Moroccans are in there battling away, but 41.25 at 15k. Well, he wanted 41.45. So he's 20 seconds inside the 58.44 tempo. So he could be heading here, if he can finish strongly, something around 58.20. It would be a personal best for him. His personal best, remember, 58.29. Now, this is interesting. Aha! Jessica Chalangat has been closed down by the pink vest of Gete Alamehu Tekla-Michael. Tekla-Michael has rallied wonderfully. Look at this, the 25-year-old Ethiopian in the pink is on a charge. She's closing with every stride. Where has this come from? She is quicker than Chalangat on paper. She's a 66.37 performer from Barcelona a couple of years ago. But Tekla-Michael here has suddenly found a surge of energy from somewhere. She was way back. I thought Chalangat had got the race sewn up. That is unusual in the third quarter of the race. Tekla-Michael has come storming through in her 12th half marathon. She's never won a big half marathon, Tekla-Michael. Could today be the day? 5 times she's gone a long way under 70 minutes. Last year she was 10th in Lisbon in 68.59. Second in Barcelona when she set that personal best back in a couple of years ago in 66.37. But Chalangat, well, she's gone past the Ethiopian. So this is a real ding-dong between this pair. Good to see. Sila Kiptu, to the left of picture, the male pacemaker from Kenya, who's a 62-minute half marathon runner himself, doing a great job here. Chalangat, well, do you know what? It's like a battle between two heavyweights. Tekla-Michael came back from what I thought was a confirmed second place somewhere back, caught her, went past her, and now Chalangat has responded and gone back into the lead by a few metres. They are having a real dust-up, and they've got, what, probably about 20 minutes of running to go, those two ladies, at the front end of the women's race. Sebastian Sawe, well, his form today is just magnificent. It looks like he's gone through 10 miles in not far outside 44 minutes. I mean, that'll be in the top few times ever for 10 miles if you care about the non-metric distances. 27.32 at 10k. That in itself is special. And he still looks unstrained, doesn't he? Still looks relaxed. I'm not sure he's actually sweating up that much. It's a glorious performance from Sawe so far. If he can just hold on for these next 3 kilometers or so, he is going to produce something quite magnificent here. Remember, the fastest time in the world this year, 58.45. That's under severe threat here in Prague. Chalangat at 15k. Jessica Chalangat at 15k, going through in 48.01. Her target was 47, so it has slackened a little bit. Maybe her third 5k was on the slow side, and that's why Tekla-Michael has caught her. I can only think that's the reason, although it's a bit strange when Kiptu was dragging Chalangat round. But now Tekla-Michael, after that somewhat bizarre surge a few minutes ago, is backing off again. And Chalangat maybe has just got her head down, is leaning into it and trying to pummel the Ethiopian into submission. Sawe, well, he did that long ago with his competitors. Lives in Kapsabet, tiny little village about a half-hour drive from Eldoret. Says he trains with a really good, strong group. Was inspired by his uncle as a kid to run, but he was a late starter. He didn't really register international until he was about 22 or 23. And so many of the Kenyans, of course, are fabulous juniors and are doing great things into their early 20s. Well, he really only registered at about 22, 23. And I said, why were you a late starter? And he said, well, I was running when I was younger. I just wasn't getting good coaching. He said, and the good coaching and the structure and the routine is what made all the difference. But his wife, Lydia Chirono, I'm sure is watching this performance from Sebastian Gimaru Sawe. His two sons, Adrian and Tyrese, will be watching. I had a little dig at him yesterday because 2 nights ago his favourite football team, Manchester United, lost 4-3 to Chelsea. He had a little chuckle at that. But this man who loves gospel singing in the lead here is singing a tune that nobody else can match at the moment on the streets of Prague. This is fantastic running from Sawe. So excited to see what time he can come up with. He's probably got about 7 minutes of running to go, 6 or 7 minutes of running to go. Chalangat and Tekla Michael just will not be separated here. It's a battle of wills as much as of their physical prowess here, because as we go to this somewhat darkened tunnel, 52 minutes on the clock, they've got, what, probably 14 minutes of running to go, something like that for him. 20,000 euros bonus for breaking 58.30. Tekla Michael. Very, very different running style to Chalangat, who's got that forward lean to her torso, the Kenyan with a big bun there in second place, dogging the heels of Tekla Michael. And I think this is a little bit of gamesmanship from Chalangat here. She's just tucked in behind Tekla Michael, almost running into the back of her, not letting the Ethiopian see her form, just watching Tekla Michael and seeing how she's operating, maybe sussing out, trying to see how well she's moving and understanding what she might have left in the tank. Tekla Michael had a little check over her shoulder there. She probably wasn't sure if Chalangat had dropped back or not. Silas Kiptu, well, he's done a good job. Silas Kiptu, the pacemaker for the women, he's just lumbering along in his own way. I say lumbering, he's got that lovely, long, slow, relaxed stride. He's running well within himself, of course. Silas Kiptu, he's a 62.03 performer, albeit that was in Warsaw back in 2019. But this is a wonderful battle building up between these two. I said at the press conference yesterday morning that what most races should target is great racing. Pull together an elite field that produces great competition, where you see athletes in this sort of scenario knocking chunks out of each other. That's what you want to see, is great racing. And then if you can get really fast times, that is a bonus. That's kind of the icing on the cake. Well, it looks like we're going to get a pretty quick time here in this women's race as Tekla Michael begins to turn the screw now. She's testing Chalangat for perhaps the first time in that women's race. Right of picture, left of picture, you can see Sawe now. He's on the Lubensky Bridge, the longest bridge in Prague. It's the northernmost bridge from the city centre. And when he gets over the bridge, he'll be at about 20k. I hope we'll get that 20k split. Remember, at 15k, his split was 41.25, some 20 seconds inside his target. And that target time was 58.44. So there's a good chance here we're going to see a time inside 58.30 to get that big 20,000 euro bonus, and maybe down around 58.20 for Sawe. If he can power on as he hits the land, just gets over that Lubensky Bridge, he passes 20k. He's effectively got 1 kilometre to go. This is a fascinating battle here between these two women, but against the clock, the superior performance marginally is by Sawe in that men's race. I'd love to see where he is now and how he's going, as he will be coming off the bridge at about 20k. His splits have been quite magnificent. We didn't get a 5k split, apologies for that. I think his second 5k was 13.53, just checking. So he did slow a little bit between 10k and 15k Sawe, as we see this battle continue in the women's race. And I'll tell you what, Tekla Michael is giving it her all here. She's got that sort of high hands, high arms, leaning back style in the pink vest. If she can win this one today, Tekla Michael, it'll be her first big half marathon victory. 66.37, her personal best. That is roughly the tempo they're on. She was second in the Ethiopian cross-country trials recently. She's been in very good form. We know she's a great cross-country runner. 12th in Bathurst at the World Championships, the World Cross Country last year. She was 4th scorer for Ethiopia there. Of course, last week in Belgrade, the Kenyan women almost totally dominated. I think they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 5 home were from Kenya last week in the Serbian capital. Somebody said to me, that's got to be the best ever, but it's not, because I think in 2017 in Uganda, the Kenyan women got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now back to Sawe. Well, at least we saw him momentarily there. He's in the home straight, and I've got 57.11 on the clock, and he is pouring it on, and he's being ushered on by the elite athlete coordinator. Sawe has turned left off the bridge. He's got just a few hundred meters to go. Now he's seeing him grimace. He is giving it everything here. It has been a remarkable run from Sebastian Kimaru Sawe. The pacemaker's pulled out much earlier than we expected. He's had to do a lot of this work himself. That long sweep there as he came down off the bridge. And then he's heading onto the home straight. He will see the finish country very shortly, which was the start country for him much less than an hour ago. 57.50 on the clock, and Sebastian Sawe is doing it wonderfully well here. He loves to run. He said he loves the half marathon. This is his distance, and it's certainly his race today. He has the Road to Records, the big Adidas event in Herzogenaurach on the 27th of April to look forward to. He said that's his next big goal, and then he'll do the 10K there on the roads, and then his next goal, he says, will be the Ethiopian 10,000 trails. And he comes towards the line. He's onto the red carpet. It would be good to see the line. And Sawe crosses the line there. 58.24 unofficially by my clock. Sawe in 58.24 gets the big bonus, gets the course record that is 12 years old. Unbelievable running from Sebastian Kimaru Sawe. And it's the quickest time in the world this year by some 20 seconds. And when you think that many of the big races have gone by already, Barcelona, Seville, Ras Al Khaimah, Naples, that is going to be a tough one to shift. Sawe, 58.24. And good running here too by Jeffrey Toroitich Kipchumba. He's going to finish in second place. He's managed to shake off the attentions of Mohsin, Patrick Kabarech Mohsin. But it will be a 1-2-3 for Kenya by the looks of things in the men's race. Kipchumba ran 3 halves last year. His debut was a 3rd place in Madrid, where he ran 60.44. Then he won Malaga in a personal best of 59.13. And he's just outside that here today, but it's still been a fantastic run from Jeffrey Toroitich Kipchumba. He's worked really hard. The temperature is climbing all the time. Let's not forget that. Patrick Mohsin will finish in 3rd place. He's eased back on the throttle. It's going to be mighty close to get under 60 minutes here for Kipchumba. 55 on the clock now. He's just going to be outside 60 minutes, I think. There it is, 60 minutes clicks by. Oh, 60.02 unofficially we'll give him. We'll get this confirmed, of course. But that is a brilliant run from him. He's had a race-long battle with this man, Mohsin. Patrick Kabarech Mohsin crosses the line there in about 60.15. But in the wake of that astonishing run from Sawe. Born in Eldoret, lives in Capsabet, coached by Claudio Berardelli and managed by Gianni Di Madonna. And this in 4th place is Gideon Kiprotich-Rop. Checking his watch there some way from the line, and he stops his watch as he crosses the line. 60.45 we'll give him unofficially there. We were asked at the press conference yesterday, along with photographs of how not to do it, to not stop their watches on the line, because the photographers, of course, like to get great photos of them. Well, still really good running in these temperatures that are climbing all the time here in Prague. certainly in my commentary cabin near the finish line, it's sweltering, I can tell you that for free. And Jackson Kavesamwema, well, he's a 65.38 performer. Bizarrely, he is many minutes better than that, and we knew it. He was 48th in Tokyo back in October, but here today he's taken several minutes off that. And Mohsin, he's had a good run as well. One of the Moroccans that's here. That's Mohsin Altala, the 25-year-old who's a 60.26 performer. He'll have been a little bit outside that. Well, it's 19 degrees. The temperature is climbing here in Prague. It's not ideal. Once you get up to 20, then it starts becoming quite uncomfortable. The masses, many of them are going to be really needing those thousands of bottles of water out on the course. But Jackson Mwema suddenly realised he was under a bit of a threat there. I got him at 62 exactly as Mohsin crosses the line in, what, 62.06. And other athletes coming through as well. That's one of the pacemakers, looking strong. Damongole is coming in. He's going to run a pretty useful time, under 63 minutes, I think. At M2, that is another of the pacemakers as well. That's the second group pacemaker, Peter Qualia Kapsarat. He's a 61.35 performer. That was at in Nairobi at altitude back in early 2022. This is Damongole. Well, he's a 61.54 performer. That too was in Nairobi. And he has done a pretty good job, it would seem, for this second pack of athletes. Ahmed El Jadar there of Morocco, 38 years old. He's a 60.40 performer.
Track record.
Quite a recent PB.
What are your feelings about that?
I'm so happy today, running my BB in Prague. I'm so happy.
Did you have any crisis during the competition, during the race?
No, I was feeling okay, and I had to push.
Was it difficult to run alone?
No, I'm used to it. It was so simple for me.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Well, Sebastian Sawe there, almost lost for words, but he's got to be delighted with that one run. No real problems, he said. I'll tell you what, though, conditions are not optimal now. If it's 19 degrees outside, he's been running in 17, 18, 19 for the last half hour, and that is just a little bit on the warm side. Wearing number 4, this is Maxwell Kortek Rotic, second here last year and a personal best of 60.06. But he's not had a great day at the office today. Outside 64 minutes, Rotic. He finished last year behind Ronsa Konga, who won in 59.43. But it's his first race of 2024, and it's one he'll want to resign to history as quickly as he can. Ran 4 good halves last year, including a win in Nairobi in 60 minutes. So that is a below-par performance for Rotic, the Ugandan from Bukwo. He said he loves his long runs, and he'll get back to training quickly, I'm sure, to try and rectify whatever's gone wrong. But 58.23, the official winning time there of Sawe. And in 6th place, Mohsin 62.04. Damongole 63.22, one of the pacemakers. And that's Patrick Weber coming through, one of the Czech stars. Weber is a 65.42 performer. He could be heading for a personal best here, Weber, the 25-year-old. Ran his PB here last year. That was his debut. I think he's going to run slightly quicker here today. 65.20 on the clock now. Is that another of the Moroccans coming through? No, it's the Spaniard, Abdel Nasser Alkelfen Ben Hadou, the 31-year-old. He's a 62.51 performer. Well, he comes through there in about 65.35. So Ben Hadou's had a tough day at the office as well in his first race of the year. He's second in the Moroccan cross-country championships last November, so he won't be happy with that. Petter Johansson of Norway, the 26-year-old. He was only 26 on Tuesday. Coming through, he's a 64.50 performer, Johansson. And Weber, Patrick Weber, looks like he's going to win the Czech title here. crosses the line in, what, 66.05. He won't be happy with that, Weber. I thought he was going to be slightly quicker. It's about 20 seconds, a little more over 20 seconds outside his personal best. And Jiri Homolach, who is a 63.23 performer, he crossed the line, what, about 10 seconds behind his compatriot. Nice little battle has been obviously going on during the race between those two in front of the home crowd. Now, the women's race. 66 minutes on the clock, nearly 67 minutes on the clock, and it has indeed been an enthralling battle between this pair. But Tekla Michael of Ethiopia, the 25-year-old, looks to have got the better from Jessica Chalanga of Kenya. On paper, she is marginally quicker, and it looks like today on the streets of Prague, in this 24th edition of the Prague Half Marathon, she's going to be marginally the quicker of the two. Working hard here is Tekla Michael. That slight furrowing of the brow gives that away. But she's great. She's a great athlete on the roads over 10K and half marathon. Indeed, back in late February, she was 8th in the Ras Al Khaimah half marathon in 67.25. So she knew she was in pretty good form. 67.5 minutes has gone now. She's run slightly slower than her performance in the rack half. This is her 12th half marathon. She's very experienced. But what is significant for Gete Alameyahu, Tekla Michael here, is this will be her first big half marathon win. 11 times she's crossed the finish line as Chalangat makes a charge in the background. I think she's going to run out of road. But Tekla Michael in her 12th half marathon is going to be champion. Here in Prague, she's worked so hard for this, crosses the line in 68.07 unofficially. And Chalangat, about 3 seconds down, we'll call that 68.11. Really close race between those two. Chalangat has given her all, has run herself into the ground, almost literally, look. The support team from RunCheck, the elite team, doing a fabulous job of looking after these athletes as they cross the line, because I think they know full well that these are a warm condition. It's about 20 degrees in Prague now. And that is far from ideal. This is Nigsti Havtu Tesfai. Now on paper, she came into the race as the quickest here. 66.17, she ran in Valencia 3 years ago. But the 24-year-old, who is normally very consistent, being chased home here by Vivian Jepkamai Meli, will have to keep running hard. Meli there, trying to get back to Nigsti Havtu Tesfai. I don't know if she's going to make it or not. Tesfai here is grimacing. She's a 66-minute athlete, but she's going to be some 3 minutes or more outside that here today. Meli, I think, is going to run out of road. Nigsti Tesfai crosses the line there in 69.32, and literally 2 or 3 seconds back is Meli. Well, the conditions are tough. You saw there Tekla Michael, the race winner, reduced to just sitting down and trying desperately to recover. And Sultan Haydar there of Turkey, the former Ethiopian, comes home for what I think is 5th place. Haydar is a 69-minute performer. So that winning time from Tekla Michael by, I think, 3 seconds. Just confirm for you, 68.07. And Chinolu. Well, and Chinolu Desi Genane. Now she too has been found out by the conditions, I think. She's a 67.30 athlete. She came 3rd in Milan last year. In that time, 67.30. She ran 5 halves last year, a couple of 68s and a 71 and a 72. Never run on the track. Maybe all those half marathons from last year catching up on her. She won the Milan half marathon on the 24th of March, just checking. And actually, 68.06 is confirmed, by the way, there, as you can see, for Tekla Michael. But Anchinalu here, well, I think she's finished in 6th place. And her time, it would have been around 71.20. She has run many minutes quicker than that. She will be desperately disappointed with that. She was 6th in the African cross-country championships back in February in Tunisia. Her form's been pretty good. 2 weeks ago, she won the Milan half marathon in 67.55. She won by 18 seconds. So the wheels really have come off today for her. And I wonder if it is the conditions. What I haven't really mentioned I should have done is that it's not only hot here in Prague now, it's humid, because we had a lot of rain on Thursday night, and it poured down actually. So there was a lot of dampness in the air on the soft ground, and maybe these warm temperatures are sucking that up out of the ground, and they're running in very humid conditions here, these athletes. 72 minutes on the clock, and the finishing density beginning to increase a little bit more now. Jennifer Gulkes of the Netherlands, the 29-year-old there, she is in the blue. She's a 72-minute athlete, and she will finish a few seconds outside her best. She ran that in The Hague. She was 5th in The Hague just recently. The grimace says it all, doesn't it? Frustrating, I suppose, for a lot of these athletes when the conditions were just about perfect, but the temperature has just scuppered any chances of anything really special. Teresa Hrochova of the Czech Republic in the pink, the 28-year-old, she's a 72.04 performer. She's going to be outside 73 minutes. That's just come up on the clock. So for these latter runners, as the temperature would appear to be climbing pretty quickly, it's been a tough last half hour or so. And that might have added a minute or so to many of these times. Hrochova finishing pretty strongly, mind you. There's good form from her. It's her 15th half marathon. She's very, very experienced. She was 8th here last year. She's going to be around that sort of position. I think 8th or 9th here today is Teresa Hrochova. So often, athletes will find a little bit of extra pride, and it'll give them a bit of extra bounce in the last few hundred meters. But Teresa Hrochova, who ran 2:26 for 19th in the Seville Marathon on the 18th of February, finishing strongly. Maybe that marathon's still in her legs a little bit. What is it, 6-7 weeks ago? 19th of February. Getting a good roar from the crowd here. Really good crowds on the finishing straight to cheer these athletes home, and they'll need it. Look at that. The wonderful thing is that the new footbridge, which is just to the right of picture across the Vltava, gives really great direct access to this section of the city, and indeed for the spectators for this race as well. It was only open in the last few days, officially opened. And Hrochova there crossing the line just inside 74.5 minutes. But that's a couple of minutes down on what she has done in the past. Well, here's that winning form of Sebastian Sawe, winning the men's half marathon here at this 24th edition of the Prague event in a new event record. It was 58.47 by Segai from 2012. Well, 12 years later, Sebastian Sawe has run 58.23, the fastest time in the world this year. It's a quite magnificent performance from the reigning world champion in the half marathon, and the Kenyan can go home with the prize money, the €20,000 bonus for winning the race in under 27:30. Brilliant from him to take that home to his family. There is confirmation of the times for the first few in that men's race. Many athletes struggling indeed. Sawe, the only athlete inside 60 minutes on this occasion, as he destroyed some great runners behind him, Kip Chumba and Mosin, and others who have broken 60 minutes or so slower than her time in the Russell Keimer half marathon back on the 24th of February, where she was 8th in 67.25. Well, third in the men's race was Patrick Mosin, as I said. Patrick Cabarech Mosin He's a 59.31 performer normally. He did that when he won Malaga last year. He also won Malaga again this year on the 1st of March, but in a slower time, 60.13. In fact, exactly a minute slower. Second place was Kipchumba, Jeffrey Trojic Kipchumba, but the champion and the event record holder now, the fastest in the world this year. He's reigning world champion in the half marathon from Riga last October, Sebastian Kimru Sawe. The 29-year-old's form this morning was quite fantastic. A much better run than last week in Belgrade, and was 7th at the World Cross Country Championships in that Serbian capital. And this young man, a late developer, you could say, who really was relatively anonymous until he was 22, 23. His next target now is on the 27th of this month. So what, 3 weeks away, he'll be running in Herzegovina at the Adidas headquarters, and the races they put on annually every April for around their sort of campus, as you could call it. He'll be running the 10K there, and then all eyes focused on making the Kenyan team over 10,000 meters for Paris, the Paris Olympic Games, now 17 weeks away. Carlo Capalbo to the left of the picture in the yellow t-shirt. He is the genius, the mastermind behind the Run Check company and their series of races. He's the founder, the man who had the idea of the Super Halves series, which Berlin has just joined. And in fact, just this afternoon, in a couple of hours' time, Carlo will be getting the train to Berlin, because the Berlin Half Marathon tomorrow is one of the Super Halves series. The other races in the Super Halves series include Cardiff and Copenhagen, and Lisbon, and the Trinidad and Valencia, Trinidad Alfonso Zurich Half Marathon, the Valencia Half, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem
58.24 now they're saying Sawe's time is officially. I thought we saw 58.23 and 60.01 for Kipchumba in second.
The best free man of the final standing of Prague Half Marathon 2024.
Well, that's a Kenyan national anthem, something you'll have heard probably a few hundred times at the Olympics and World Championships and other great races. Applies to all three of these athletes. 1, 2, 3 for Kenya today in the men's race in Prague. And that is a very, very exciting run from Sebastian Sawe for several reasons. Conditions weren't ideal. Looks like the wind has just come up a little bit, but there is confirmation of the wind for Tekla Michael, 68.10 eventually, and Chalangat 68.13. Just 3 seconds in it after well over an hour of hard running. And Gulkers of the Netherlands, Rotova of Czech Republic, all finishing.
Finishing in the third place was Nixty Haftu Tesfai, Ethiopia. Ruha second place, and Yeska Chelangat, Kenya. And the queen of Prague Half Marathon of the season 2024 is Gete Aleimaku Telekamikel, Ethiopia! Medaile atletů nejlepším předává pan Marko Vasič, ředitel běžecké sekce romské atletiky. He is Marko Vasic, the European Athletics Running Unit Director, who is presenting medals and flowers to the best ladies of the final standing of 24th edition of Prague Half Marathon. 1:08:10, 1:08:13 and 1:09:30 These are the times we will see in the final result list of Prague Half Marathon 2024 in the category Elite Women. Marko Vasic congratulating to the best of this very race, very fast race. Poháry ze sklářské dílny a je to předává těm nejlepším zakladatel a prezident Ranček Carlo Capalbo. He is Carlo Capalbo, the founder and the president of Ranček, who is presenting the crystal trophies from Aeto Glassworks to the best ladies of the final standing. Always unique glasswork, always unique trophies prepared for the best in the Ranček series are right now presented to the best ladies of the final standing in Elite Women category. Gratulace tak směřují těm nejrychlejším ženám. Ta vůbec nejrychlejší potřebovala 1 hodinu 8 minut a 10 sekund na to, aby se probila do cílové linie. A právě na její počest zazní národní hymna. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the winner will be played. Čelengat, Jeska Čelengat, Gete Alemajchu, Tekle Michael, the best three ladies of the final standing of the Prague Half Marathon of the season 2024. In one of the fastest races, especially in the men category in history, we have these ladies as the first, second and third of the final standing among elite women. Great performance, especially in the did not fully anticipated or expected quite hot weather here under the sun in the capital city of the Czech Republic, the capital city of Prague. Gratulace tak směří k těm nejlepším ženám konečného hodnocení v elitní